Yes, thank you very much for joining my Anja Fazil YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like and share this particular video. Now, uh, of course, as the online activist community, we were shocked by the kidnapping of Fred Kajubi Rumbuye in Turkey, a renowned blogger who has been very critical about Museveni and his rule. Now, so much has been going around social media as well as the internet on his particular arrest. Mr. Kajubi resides in Turkey, and 2 days ago he was arrested. Sorry, he was kidnapped and whisked away to unknown location. We managed to get information on his kidnap, and the entire online activist community has dived into this particular issue, and all of a sudden, of course, it has covered all other issues in Uganda, as well as the online community of Uganda. Now, to break down this story, my name is Fazil, and I'm going to break down a few things here and there, and what is really happening and where we are today. Now, when I started following this story, there were two issues. Number one, on how Fred was captured or kidnapped. In Uganda, there was a narrative because the speed at which the news spread, it was like a wildfire. I was so surprised, and this really shocked me as a person, because the people who do this kind of work of coming to talk here and all this kind of stuff, we are not being paid or we are not being supported on this and that. So some of us might not know how effective and how big the information that people put out there, how big it is. It is yesterday that I saw how big Mr. Rumbuye is. Of course, he's one of the most followed. Like, he's a media channel in himself, because whenever he holds the show, it has at least, I think, 6,000 people watching, 10,000 people watching. Now, if you can have 10,000 people watching your particular show, a live show, at any one time, no TV station in Uganda, no radio station that can do a online show and have that number of people watching it. Now, you will have to combine all the TVs and radios doing live shows simultaneously to get the viewership that Mr. Rumbuye gets. So that's how effective this gentleman is. That 10,000 people watching him at any particular time, definitely you're a threat to the state. Museveni struggles to even get 200. The only person who has ever gotten close to that number, of course, it's His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. So, of course, Mr. Rumbuye, ever since he started doing this work, he has been a very big threat to the state. Now, they have been trying to hunt him down in Turkey, where he has been living, and trying to see how they can get him back. And, concoct charges here and there and say all this kind of stuff. Now, what we know is that when the story first broke, every media house in Uganda was breaking the story, to the extent that even the Minister of Foreign Affairs was asked about the issue and he had to address it, meaning that these people, Rumbuye is the only name that goes into the Museveni cabinet that everyone knows who he is. The fact that Okello Oryem, I don't know if he watches Mr. Rumbuye, but the fact that Okello Oryem, I don't think he speaks or understands Luganda. If he knows Rumbuye, definitely Rumbuye must be spoken about in the cabinet, Museveni's cabinet, number one. The other person that shocked me, not shocked, but I was really fascinated to see that even this gentleman known as Odrek Rabogo, the son-in-law to Museveni, he also confessed to be following Mr. Rumbuye and watching what he says. Also, a gentleman called the former Katikkiro of Buganda, Danny Mulika, the former Prime Minister of Buganda Kingdom, also confessed to be watching Mr. Fred Kajubi Rumbuye. Now, of course, most people agree with what he says, and some do not agree with what he says. But what is interesting is this, that when the news was broken, or sorry, when the news broke that Mr. Lumbuye had been arrested, every media house stopped what they were doing. It's like the entire world seized for a moment that Lumbuye has been arrested. That is the narrative they were driving of arrest. Yet the gentleman was kidnapped. So the world is like Uganda seized for a moment the entire day yesterday. Online media seized for a moment to address the arrest of Mr. Kajubi. That's how powerful Mr. Kajubi is. To the extent that Uganda won its first gold medal in the Japan Olympics. A lady known as Chemtai. She won, I think, steeplechase, something like that. I'm not even following those things. But she won a gold medal, but no one is even talked about that entire gold medal. That's how powerful Mr. Kajubi is. Just a one-man show, online doing his stuff. Okello Oryem confirmed that Mr. Kajubi was arrested, but in reality, he was kidnapped because he has been a pain in the backside of the state for a very long time. Now, there has been a theory that Mr. Lumbuye had gone to renew his passport at the Ugandan embassy in, is it Ankara or Turkey? Okay, in Turkey. And then these people kidnapped him from there and they captured him. But we also know, that is the narrative from government, but we also know now that Mr. Lumbuye was kidnapped from his home. That's where these people came and took him, whisked him away. People in Turkey and all over the world were trying to look for Mr. Fred, trying to know where he is, trying to trace him, but they couldn't find him. They visited Interpol, they visited the Turkish police and the nearby police stations. Everyone was denying that they don't know where Fred is. So we were worried to some extent that we might be even looking for someone who is dead. And not so much information was coming out of Turkey because everything was all about, or was mostly a wee bit about hearsay. But the truth of the matter, or the fact was that Mr. Lumbuye had gone missing and we did not know where he was. But the method of his capture, of course, according to the videos that we saw, they showed that the gentleman was kidnapped from his home. Now, on that particular matter, I'm going to, because there's a few updates that have just happened, according to the Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mwadam Kunyinji, who has confirmed that, according to trusted sources, Mr. Lumbuye is in the hands of Turkish security forces, whatever, Turkish security. And he's in their custody. And there are some negotiations that are taking place within the Turkish officials, as well as some Ugandan officials who had gone to see that, because Uganda doesn't have an extradition treaty with Turkey, so legally Turkey cannot extradite Lumbuye, number one. Number two, Turkey is trying to establish, grounds, because it shows according to Mr. Kunyinji's statement, it shows that the government, Museveni's government, was tried to blackmail through its spies in Turkey, tried to blackmail Lumbuye that he was involved in some activities that were illegal, and for that matter, they are trying to push for Lumbuye's deportation, but not extradition, because deportation and extradition are different. On grounds that Lumbuye is living in Turkey illegally, immigration, like they are orchestrating grounds on which Mr. Lumbuye can be deported, but they are not looking for an extradition, because if you look for an extradition and you want to use Interpol, you want to use the Turkish authorities, it means that Turkey is going to extradite Lumbuye to a country where he was wanted to be killed. That is why I laugh when I saw this gentleman with big cheeks, that minister of whatever, I don't even know what his name is, the Foreign Affairs Minister in Museveni's junta, that so-called Okello Oryem. He looks like he lives near a McDonald's restaurant, whereby he always goes and eats McDonald's and he gets fat for nothing. You see, that is the problem with the Museveni's people. They are lacking in terms of intelligence. If you join Museveni's government, that is what happens. Because you even react to things the way you're not supposed to react to them. Now, you cannot eat all that food, you become obese, and the moment you put on all that kind of weight, your level of understanding and your level of intelligence walks away from another window. So these people, it's like they live near McDonald's restaurants all the time, eating McDonald's and getting fat and losing most of their mental intelligence in one way or the other. And that's why you can say Minister of Foreign Affairs, instead of talking about issues of giving us vaccines and all this kind of stuff, they are now jubilating as they have captured Lumumba. But I would like to assure everyone, Lumumba is not in the custody of Museveni and his cronies. That is how dense these people are. Now, if you have just joined such a government, just know that you are in a very crazy kind of establishment. Okay, now let's look into this, what is so far happening. Now, this is the article for yesterday. Lumumba's arrest worries government critics in the diaspora. Me, I'm not worried anyway. Okay, they say, the news of the reported arrest of Lumumba over unclear offenses in Turkey has sent shockwaves among social media critics in the diaspora. Lumumba is a critic who uses social media accounts to attack and criticize government officials in Uganda. Some of his statements are termed by Ugandan security officials as crimes against the state. So in Uganda, it's just, we all know dictatorships, of course, it doesn't come as a surprise. Since the news of Lumumba's arrest, Ugandans in the diaspora have rallied their colleagues to petition Turkish government and the United Nations to block any likely extradition of Lumumba to Uganda. Foreign Affairs State Minister Okole Oryem said he has just heard about the arrest of Lumumba but hadn't confirmed it. If he is arrested because of a crime he committed, he deserves to be arrested. Anybody who commits a crime in any country should pay the price for breaking the law, Mr. Oryem said at the Uganda Media Center yesterday. Just a minute. Mr. Okole Oryem, you know some gentleman called Sam Kutesa? You are very aware that he took a bribe of $500,000 from Patrick Ho? Wasn't that a crime? Why don't you send Mr. Sam Kutesa to America for some time and we see if he can go there for a holiday, if he won't get arrested? Why is it that Museveni is not traveling to the West? Is he worried that he might be arrested or charged for corruption? Why? Oryem said Lumumba isn't a special person and therefore isn't above the law. Several Ugandans in Turkey say Lumumba was arrested by Turkish police officers dressed in uniform and of anti-narcotics authorities. However, Uganda has no known cases that were submitted to Interpol seeking his extradition. According to Interpol processes, the country seeking extradition of the suspect said to be abroad must first seek a court order in their country and then apply for Interpol's help to find the accused. Interpol Constitution, however, does not respond to the offenses that are political in nature. Article 3 of Interpol Constitution strictly forbids Interpol to undertake any intervention or activities of a political, military, religious, or a racial character. Now, this might apply to Interpol, and that is why you see, like, these people are now trying to find a way around so that they work with deportation, like they put crimes on Mr. Lumumba and then they deport him. And this is what is most likely also to happen to other people who are critiquing the government but not living in countries that are a wee bit democratic. Whereas Turkey is also democratic, but it's not, 100. You cannot say that it's really like 70% democratic. But still, even in an undemocratic country like Turkey, it also needs to keep its reputation. Last month, Museveni asked security agencies to deal with Ugandans in foreign countries who post fake news on social media that dents his image and that of the country. But Museveni said that social media is not a big deal and that social media cannot do anything to him and that people are just shouting on social media. Why is he afraid of social media? Why is he afraid of all these platforms? So does he think that after capturing Lumumba, then everything will go away? Instead of addressing the issues that people on social media are addressing, you are there trying to... Look here what these people did. At first, they hacked our accounts. They took over all our accounts. They compromised all our pages, and like literally using state resources and taxes to hack, compromise, and take over all our Facebook pages and Twitter handles and all this kind of stuff, just to silence us. If what we are speaking is not true, then why bother? Okay, if you have your own facts and people are speaking things that are untrue, why don't you bring your facts and counter our lies with your facts? Because there are no facts. Because what these people are speaking about are true. Because in the absence of truth by Museveni's regime, of course, people are gonna find their own truth. The media space in Uganda has been stifled. It is Museveni who orders what radio station, which TV station, which newspaper is supposed to say what. We have kept up, for a very long time, we have kept up with all this crap. Whereby the state is the one that orders what Daily Monitor is supposed to write. It orders what NBS is supposed to do. And that is why you see Museveni is opening as many radio stations as possible. But they are all full of garbage. From morning up to evening, they are always playing music because they don't want Ugandans to think for themselves. They do not address the matters that are affecting Ugandans. As a matter of fact, now Ugandans have decided to take matters into their own hands, to create their own sort of journalism, to create their own citizen kind of journalism. They are no longer paying heed to newspapers and all this kind of stuff. TVs and all this kind. Whenever you watch Ugandan TVs, there are always women that are dancing in short dresses and they are almost naked. That is what Museveni wants. And that is what is going to develop Uganda. But if you come and speak about the corruption, the nepotism, the tribalism, that is really bad for the country. So if you stifle that particular space, of course Ugandans are going to create their own space. The only things that are on Ugandan radio stations are the so-called Ebarua. That this one was bewitched, and then he got ghosts are haunting this particular person, or this particular person knows a good witch doctor, or this particular person knows someone who can do some sort of voodoo. And those are the programs that we are always listening to on Ugandan radios. But there are no programs that are holding Museveni accountable. No programs that are talking about how incompetent his wife is in the Ministry of Education. None. If you talk about that, you will find yourself in Luzira. But if you go on radio and TV and you start dancing, you can even have sex and no one will touch you. That is what Museveni wants, to kill the entire generation. Quote, I need to check with them to locate one who tells such a story because you waste people's time. We should go for you. We should locate you where you are and go for you. And if you are in Europe, we denounce you. Why would you denounce someone in Europe? So you think that some places you can just go and capture and pick people, and then in Europe you will just denounce you? Museveni and your head, you do not have a right to denounce any Ugandan all over the world. Well, for me, you can denounce me and say, okay, you are no longer Ugandan. You have no right. You have no right you cannot say that someone is not Ugandan. How can you do that? When people ask you, are you really Ugandan? You cannot even provide answers. You cannot even say either am I Ugandan or not. Right? There is nothing clear about you. You don't even know your names. For the past 35 years, you didn't know your real names. For the past 35 years, you have lied to Ugandans that you have gone to school. There is no academic records of yours. When we try to apply for these records, they failed. They refuse to provide them. And this goes around even within your family, because there are no records that show that your people within your family actually went to school. You get it? So you don't even know your name. Here is a person, he doesn't know his name. He doesn't even know whether he went to school or not, but he's saying that he will denounce people in the diaspora that are critiquing him. Museveni said that at the swearing in of ministers. Museveni had been declared dead on social media. Okay, if you are all that powerful, and if you hold and wield a lot of power in Uganda, just someone saying that Museveni is dead, I think Ugandans should even say more that Museveni is dead in sort of protest for Rumbia's release. Museveni is dead. Okay, you're dead now. So that is the issue. But then Mr. Nkunyinji gave us an update recently that says that updates on Lumbuye, like you can see, we have been reliably we have reliably confirmed from trusted sources within the Turkish security that human rights activist Lumbuye is in custody of the Turkish security. There is intense efforts by the Ugandan security to have him and the 15 other Ugandans deported, even though Turkish authorities are reported to be making further investigations and have not confirmed opinion or released substantial findings, as sources indicate. Uganda is reported to have sent a high-profile security operatives and diplomatic officials who are in negotiations with the Turkish security. There is also talk of exchange of prisoners. That is what I heard. That Uganda is willing to give the Turkish government some prisoner in exchange for Lumbuye. But the way they want to do it is Lumbuye. They want him deported but not extradited. Sources indicate that investigations are centering on expired passport, immigration status, and some Ugandan informer in Turkey disguised and deliberately reported to the Turkish security that Lumbuye is involved in multiple crime activities to prompt his arrest. Thus, they reported ongoing investigations. This points at a setup for Lumbuye. The speed used by the Ugandan security and foreign ministers in pushing for his deportation and engaging Turkish authorities and security as reported visualize a possible state setup to have him deported at all cost. We now remind human rights activists and defenders, be it persons or states and agencies, to take interest in this matter, as we are certain he is being wrongfully hunted for divergent political opinions. Legally, Turkey has no extradition agreement with Uganda, and it's illegal under international law to attempt, if done, attempts to use a disguised deportation in excuse for criminal actions within Turkey seem to be set up being paraded. We must stand to denounce. Why would Ugandan authorities insist so much to have a civilian deported at all costs instead of demanding a foreign government to release him? This is troubling. Ugandan foreign policy strategy deliberate on suffocating Ugandan nationals abroad. We must jointly remind Turkish authorities how unsafe it will be to accept a request by Uganda for deportation of a political critic of the ruling regime. The need for him to secure legal representation within Turkey seems urgent and relevant, and we recommend so. For those who have questioned our interest in standing with and all this kind of stuff. All right, so that is the Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mwada Nkunyinji, explaining about Mr. Lumbuye's arrest. That's Mr. Lumbuye who was arrested. So we understand, according to Mr. Nkunyinji, who has been following this matter, that there are Ugandan security operatives, high profile, who are in tense negotiations with the Turkish authorities to have Lumbuye, and they're even offering some Turkish prisoners in Uganda in exchange for Lumbuye. Man, in Uganda, we have a saying that say that Lumbuye, like ochkubye, like you have hit it hard. Now that is what it takes. I mean, literally that's what it takes. Keeping up with Museveni's dictatorship is not easy. I've seen some people jubilating, celebrating, hey, they have got Lumbuye. But those people are really minuscule. You can even count them on the fingers. Let me try to count them for you and you'll see. So the people who have been jubilating Lumbuye's release are these ones. Let me count for them. Actually, one. I think two. That's all. The people who have called for Lumbuye's release, who have called for Lumbuye's, who are out there looking for free Lumbuye, literally, they are infinite. The entire social media has been covered by this gentleman. This gentleman has really, if we are really serious, guys, I think we should all support Lumbuye, because it is Lumbuye who has given Museveni headache. We have never seen anyone in this world who has given Museveni headache like this gentleman. And let me tell you, the arrest of Lumbuye, right? The arrest of Mr. Lumbuye, and whatever these people are trying to do to him, even if he is being arrested, he is actually going to, he has achieved a particular status that no other person in Uganda's media fraternity that has ever achieved. The entire Uganda has never come to a standstill just because Samson Kasumba or those Kanare Mugumes, I don't know those media personalities in Uganda. I don't even know who they are. Most of them. No one has ever been arrested in Uganda, and they bring the entire country to a standstill. None. It has never happened. This guy is just breaking records. And even if he's being extradited and taken back to Uganda, it's not going to bring Lumbuye down, but it's just going to elevate him in status. And I believe this is how Museveni is actually orchestrating his own downfall. Because by arresting Lumumba, it is going to catalyze, or it is going to fasten and increase his unpopularity as well as his downfall. So guys, thank you very much for listening. We are following this story of Lumbuye, and we shall be keeping you posted on the matter, and soon, anytime soon, any news that breaks, I'll be updating you, as well as giving you more updates that are coming coming in from Uganda. Please enjoy most of our other videos that we put up, and do not endeavor to share and comment on this particular video. Have a blessed one. Bye bye.